how's it going? So I'm back in my parents' garden again today. We just recently finished a project where we planted up a small section of flower bed in their lower yard, and I think it turned out really pretty. I'm excited to watch it grow on. But after we got done with that project, my mom and I were kind of walking around looking at the rest of their garden. We love to do tours, get a cocktail or a cup of coffee and just walk slowly, look at all the plants at multiple times of the year because the garden changes so much. But she was pointing out different areas of the garden where she thought, well, I could use something that has red leaves in this spot, or I would love to have a ground cover here, or I need an extra one of these, like one of them died or something like that. So I thought it would be really fun to come back and bring plants and fill in some of those holes. So I'm not going to do a full-on tour today, but I do think we are going to. I asked my mom if she would be willing to tour with me so that she could share her perspective on their garden and what they've done through the years, because we moved to this house in 1990 when I was just a really little girl, and it was a mess. It was waist-high weeds. It was just this has been a process, this garden has been, and there's a lot of maturity and a lot of beautiful things going on at this point because it's been so many years. But I thought that she could offer a really fun perspective if we toured their space together. So be watching for that. I'm hoping that we can do that here pretty quick. But what I want to do now is I've already placed the plants in the areas where we're gonna work today, so I thought I would just show you around before we get them in the ground. And in case you were wondering what was behind me that whole time, Crimson Queen Japanese Maple, surrounded by some gorgeous daffodils and tulips, and these tulips get really skinny at night, like they close up and then they open up as the sun starts to hit them in the afternoon. But you can see how beautiful they go with these daffodils that have kind of that peachy pink cup in the center. So pretty. I'll ask my parents what the names of these are. Maybe we'll pop them up on the screen. All right, we're gonna head to the lower yard. Ooh, the sun feels good today. So this is the first area, a little bit difficult in terms of lighting, but this space where I'm putting these three plants, you can see them 1, 2, 3, gets more sun as the day progresses. I planted in this area last year in a video. There are Firefly Peach Yarrow in here, and there's a couple of Cherry Truffles Heucheras, and we just wanted to amp up the display a bit. So I brought one more Firefly Peach Yarrow and 2 more of the Cherry Truffles Heucheras, just so we have kind of a drift of red in here, and then we'll have an odd number of yarrow right there. I think it'll be really nice. All right, let's head to the second spot. Oh, just in case we don't make it back to tour when the bleeding hearts are in full bloom, look at this. Aren't they beautiful? Oh, love it. So this is the second space right here. You might recognize it. It looks very different from when I was here planting daffodils this last fall, but I did come in and planted roughly 250 Ice Follies daffodils in this section. You can see some of them are still looking really good. A lot of them have started to fade, but the thing is that you know that daffodils, once they're all spent and the leaves start to yellow and die back, the whole plant will be cut back. So it'll start looking a lot more open in here, and there's a lot of green and blue, but not a whole lot of red in terms of leaf color. So we thought it would be really fun to tuck in some of the Midnight Masquerade Penstemon, which is one of the plants I used down in their new flower bed that we just planted, but it's one of my favorites. It does so well in our garden, in our soils, and I think it'll be beautiful up here. As well as this ground cover sedum called Boogie Woogie, which has quite a bit of pink in it. I'm gonna try not to shade the pot here. So new growth has a blushish pink, beautiful variegation, and I think it'll be a good one to try here just because I don't think their drip line comes all the way out to the edge of the bed. So I think it's gonna remain dry enough, and it gets really sunny. Well, you can see it's in the sun here in the early morning, and it stays in the sun for most of the day. Should be happy here. All right, now let's move to the third location. Third and last. So this is a flower bed leading up to the balcony there. You can see the stairs, where they recently had to have a flamingo maple removed, which is right where the Autumn Brilliant Serviceberry is now planted. It was massive. It filled in this whole section. It shaded this whole area, which is full of heucheras, hellebores, and guacamole hostas. Like the whole thing is full of shade plants. So it's gonna be interesting to see how this bed does through this year until the Autumn Brilliance gets big enough, but it opens up a really sunny spot. Oh, we got some geese. That's beautiful. Anyway, it opens up a really sunny spot and a perfect opportunity to add some lemon jade sedum in, which is a wonderful sedum. They don't have any of it in their garden and they needed it. So I brought that out and I was like, Mom, we gotta find a spot for this. You're gonna love it. And I think that fountain is sucking air. I need to go fill it with water. Hold on. Here's the flower bed we just planted up. I'm coming, fountain. Okay, now we can start planting. And I think I'm gonna forego the auger for the planting today. Sorry, I'm trying to coil the hose up at the same time here. Because I'm trying to sneak around so many other plants. I'm gonna go find a shovel in their potting shed and then we're just gonna get them in the ground. I need to get my parents a hose link down here. Coiling up hoses by hand is for suckers. In the ground, and I gotta tell you, planting in somebody else's garden is so much fun. I highly recommend it. Although this garden kind of still feels like it's mine. This is my only memory really of childhood. I don't remember much about when we lived in town before we moved out to the country, so this garden holds a ton of memories for me. Isn't this crazy? It's been what, 45 minutes I think? And there's a ton more sun in this area, and they're still working too on getting everything mulched, all the drip lines covered like we are in our garden right now. Just kind of a process in the spring. The stacked rocks are awesome, aren't they? That is one thing that was here when we moved in, because they live on a hill, so much of their garden is terraced, which is so awesome. It's easy to create very cozy, very, I don't know, rooms. It's easy to create rooms in your garden when you've got different levels, and I love it. So you can see here is the yarrow I planted today. That one I had to plant like a skosh high because there was like some kind of a rock or a root or something like that that I kept running into. I was very careful though. I made sure it was not a water line. There was no water lines right here, so that was perfect. And then the two cherry truffles heucheras just to kind of finish off that drift, and you see these are just coming out of their dormancy a little bit. Here heucheras don't winter as well as they do in more mild climates, so it takes them a little while to get this fluffy, but the Hakanakloa will fill in. I don't know, it's just a really fun area. And all these rock paths have been here too since I was little. I was actually telling Aaron the other day, because I walked around here in my bare feet, which is how I lived my childhood, and I actually can remember the curvature. Like I can remember how to run on these rocks to not hurt my feet. It's like ingrained in my brain. Right up here we have more constant light as well, and you can see the penstemon, which they grow 36 to 40 inches tall, and they'll just kind of tower above some of the other things in here. There's some Tuscan sun roses that'll bloom beautiful, kind of a mauvey pink apricot color. And then we've got our sedum tucked in the front here. I did not run into a single daffodil bulb. I don't know how I did that. But I tried to be as careful as I could. On our way to the sedum, let me give you an update on the autumn frost hostas we planted here a couple years ago. Aren't they so pretty? Oh, I think I planted these bulbs too. Labels. Oh, they're so pretty. All right, down the walkway here, you can see the sedum. This was actually a perfect plant for this location, because one, it's gonna get a lot of sun, but since there was a tree here, there are roots everywhere. Like, I don't know how they got that tree planted. That would be really interesting to know how that process went, because I ran into, let's see, this one right here, there's a root like this big running right through the hole, but sedum is very shallow rooted compared to other perennials. They don't need a ton of water, and they can just withstand situations like that. So I think this will be a fun little hedge, and then they're gonna come in with something right behind it. And that's it for today's video. Thought you guys might enjoy just kind of following along in what we were doing here. Now, I did want to mention I did not put any biotone starter fertilizer in any of the sedum holes. I started to pour it in on one of the sedums, and then I caught myself and remembered that sedum do not want to be fertilized. So it's one of those perennials that are just amazing that way. I mean, just pop them in the ground, give them a tiny bit of water, and they will do really well if they've got a lot of sun. So anyway, the penstemon, the yarrow, and the heuchera, I did use the biotone starter fertilizer on those. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.